good evening, dear students. Welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy, the Hindu news analysis. So, like every day, today also we have some important news articles for the discussion, and one by one we'll try to discuss these articles in a very detailed and in-depth manner so that this discussion will be helpful for your preparation. And the first very important article, so because it has the strategic importance, it has the security importance, and it also has important technological implications for India, particularly its mission of digital India. So India's subsea cable infrastructure is strategically very important for India. So as part of this article, we will understand what are these subsea cable infrastructure or cable network, and how it is going to help India's technological transformation, and what are the security and strategic implications that these subsea sea cables have for a country like India, and what are the threats that these subsea cables have been facing, and what are the recent instances of these subsea cables were threatened, or subsea cables were even disrupted by other non-state actors. So we will make an attempt to understand this in a very comprehensive and holistic manner. So this article has been given in the Hindu newspaper, and apart from that, this is very important article for your general studies paper 3, economy. So for economy paper, this topic is very important, so you need to pay attention to this particular topic. Now, it is being said that India has been rapidly building or expanding its international internet bandwidth through laying down new subsea cables or new sea cables. And in fact, the latest one is Airtel's to Africa Pulse system. So this is the latest sea cable network, that is Airtel's to Africa Pulse system, and it has been backed by Meta, thereby adding around 100 terabits per second of capacity. So this is going to substantially increase existing capacity of the networks which provide internet connectivity. So this is going to be one of the biggest advantage for India going ahead, because it is being said that India as of now making a digital transformation and even digital revolution also, and we have plans to make internet accessible to everybody, and we are also having plans to reduce the digital divide that has been existing in India, the digital divide between urban and rural areas, between the male and female as well, and thereby we mostly focus on the empowerment of vulnerable groups, empowerment of vulnerable and marginalized sections of the society through the increased use of digital solutions. So what we actually do, we bring in transparency, we also bring in accountability in the administration and the governance. Apart from that, we will also provide services with ease. So we are going to provide services with ease to every household. So it is actually having a lot of advantages and a lot of benefits. And similarly, if you can understand the other advantages, for example, we need to talk about e-education or e-learning, or even telemedicine or tele-education. So there are a lot of applications, so they can be provided through the internet access or internet connectivity. And apart from estimates, from the government, in India around 750 million people have access to internet. 750 million people have access to internet, and compared to other countries, india's data is India's data is less expensive. It is less expensive, and it is also expected that in the coming 10 years, so this number will grow substantially. That means more and more number of people will have access to internet, and it could revolutionize the administration and the governance the way it has been carried out. So this is the biggest advantage of internet. However, in order to provide affordable, reliable, and resilient internet connection round the clock to every individual in India, these deep sea subsea cables actually play a very important role. So undersea cables are considered as a backbone of global internet connectivity. So they are backbone of the global internet connectivity, because we have just understood what are the benefits and what are the advantages of these undersea cables, because the most of the internet traffic is carried out through the undersea cables, and that is the biggest advantage of these undersea cables. And in fact, these undersea cables link internet service providers, so whoever providing these internet services with the telecom operators across different countries in the world, thereby enabling faster, reliable data transmission all across the world. So this is the biggest advantage of the undersea cables. And in fact, so these undersea cables also play a very important role in India as well, ensuring faster, reliable internet networks. And in fact, so if we talk about these undersea cables through which internet traffic can be transmitted, so if we can describe about them, so these cables are actually few inches thick. So they are few inches thick, but these sea cables or subsea cables are heavily protected to survive harsh environments, because under sea there are harsh environments which exists. So in order to sustain this harsh environment, the undersea cables are actually made with the protective material. So they are actually being made with the protective material so that they can withstand the harsh environment that is existing under sea. And in fact, inside these cables, what they actually consist of fiber optic strands, right? So they actually have fiber optic strands, and these fiber optic strands inside these cables, they actually carry out a vast amounts of data at a very high speed across different countries in the world, right? So these fiber optic strands actually play a very important role in transmission of high speed data across different countries. And in fact, the undersea cables come ashore at designated landing points. For example, that imagine that this is the sea, and undersea there are subsea cables, right? So there are subsea cables, and these subsea cables will come out of the sea at a designated points, and those designated points are called as landing points. So they are considered as landing points. So landing points are those points where these subsea cables will come out of the water to the territory. And in fact, from these landing points or landing stations, so they connect to landing stations inland where they integrate with the major networks. So on land they will be integrated with the major networks. Now what critical role that these cables will actually play, right? So what role the undersea cables will actually play. So we'll try to understand this, that their specific role. So because we briefly try to understand the role of the undersea cables in transmission of huge amounts of data at a much faster speeds. So according to experts, these undersea cables, so they actually handle around 90% of the global data. So 90% of the global data is not a small amount of data. So it is actually a huge amount of data. So that means, so 90% of the global data is handled by the undersea cables. Undersea cables. And apart from that, these undersea cables also handle 80% of world trade. So 80% of world trade is also dependent on the undersea cables, and around 10 trillion financial transactions and even secured government communication. So don't you think how important actually these undersea cables are? Because 80% of the world trade is carried out through, world trade depends on these undersea cables, and 90% of the data transmission is being done through the undersea cables. And apart from that, 10 trillion transactions also dependent on the undersea cables, and even secured communication of the government will also be transmitted through the undersea cables. So that is why these undersea cables are very, very important, and in fact they are also very important for India as well. And in fact, the modern cables, they actually offer several hundred gigabits per second of capacity, serving thousands of telecom users, right? So modern undersea cables, so they have the much more efficiency, the much more potency or efficacy when it comes to transmission of data at a much faster pace. So you can also understand the strategic locations for subsea cables, particularly India. So India is actually considered as a center of these subsea cables or undersea cables, because India is very often considered as a strategic location because it is at the center of these subsea cables, which are actually linking different regions across the world, right? So that's why India is considered as a strategic and a very, very important location for these subsea cables. And when we talk about these undersea cables in a much more detailed manner, particularly with respect to India, so India as of now has two major undersea cables. So we have two major undersea cables. So one is at Mumbai, and other undersea cable at Chennai. So please remember this. So as of now we have two major undersea cables. One is at Mumbai and the other is at Chennai. And in fact, among these two major undersea cable networks, Mumbai alone handles around 95% of the subsea cable traffic, right? So subsea cable traffic, around 95% of it is being handled by the Mumbai undersea cable landing hub. And in fact, many cables that land in Chennai also connect with the Mumbai undersea cable hub as well. However, apart from that, there are 17 international cable systems currently land in India, right? So around 17 international cable systems. so that currently land in India. So what does it mean? So it actually means that there are 17 international cable systems. They are going from different parts of the world, so they land in India, and from India they will be connecting other parts. For example, one a cable system which has been connecting US with Japan, which has been connecting US with South Korea. So there are around 17 international cable systems which actually land in India. And apart from that, apart from these international cable systems, India also has two domestic cable projects. So it has two domestic cable projects. So what are those two domestic cable projects? So one domestic cable project is CANI, that is Chennai and Andaman and Nicobar Islands Cable Project, and second one is Kochi Lakshadweep Island Project. Kochi Lakshadweep Island Project and Chennai Andaman Nicobar Island Project. So these two are considered as the domestic cable projects that we have as of now. And in fact, the undersea cable projects, so they are actually capital intensive. So this is the biggest problem with the undersea cable projects. That essentially means that we need a lot of money. We need a lot of money or capital to build these undersea cable networks. And apart from that, laying these undersea cable networks is also time consuming. It means it actually consume a lot of time. So along with consuming a lot of time, it also capital intensive in nature, right? So thereby it actually costing millions of dollars to lie down these deep sea or undersea cable networks. It actually cost any country millions of dollars, and it is also time consuming. So whenever it is time consuming, the project cost would also tend to increase. However, when we come back to cable systems, undersea cable systems specifically in India, so as of now India holds only 1% of the global cable landing stations and 3% of the subsea cable system. So this essentially means that India will actually in future make rapid strides when it comes to this global cable landing as well as subsea cable systems. So subsea cable systems, so they would not emerge out of the sea, so that we have 3% and 1% of the global cable landing station. So this is some data with respect to undersea cable projects or cable networks. However, the existing infrastructure meets the demand, right? So whatever the undersea cable related infrastructure that we have, that actually meets the demand of India's consumers, and most traffic is handled by the current capacity, right? So whatever traffic as of now we have, that traffic is handled by the current infrastructure, the current capacity that we already have. However, in future, experts have been warning that there would be a shortfall due to a rapid increase in the data usage, rapid increase in the number of people who are using data because of economic growth. Because of rapid economic growth, India's data consumption will also substantially increase. So thereby, with the existing infrastructure, with the existing capacities that we have, we may not be able to fully meet the demand of India's future data consumption. So therefore, this is the time that India should invest in the protection of the existing data infrastructure or the undersea cables, and also laying down more and more such undersea cables to meet the future demand. However, now one thing that we should understand now, so what are the crucial risks? What are the risks that are associated with the undersea cable networks? undersea cable networks, because it has a set of risks associated with it. When India has been aspiring to lay down more and more such undersea cable networks or develop undersea cable projects, or if India is interested to collaborate with other countries for these undersea cables or sea cable networks, it is very very important that we should understand the potential risks that are involved with these undersea cable networks. So here on this image you can clearly see how these undersea cable networks are laid down. So you can see here, so these are undersea cable networks. This is how on the seabed the undersea cable networks are laid down, right? So deeper depths, at a deeper depths, these undersea cables are actually laid down. Now what are the risks which are surrounding the undersea cable deployment in India? So in fact, India's internet infrastructure is highly dependent on undersea cable. So whatever data that we have been using or we have been consuming, so the internet infrastructure is highly dependent on the undersea cables, right? Undersea cables. So that essentially means that we have been highly dependent on undersea cables for our data consumption, for our internet connectivity, And in fact, with more cables landing in Singapore than in India, making country vulnerable to disruptions at sea. And so recently in news that China has invented a machine that can successfully cut down the undersea data cables. So this is a threat to India's undersea cables. So therefore this is the time that India should invest in such technologies, and India should innovate itself to lay down such undersea data cables, and we should also invest in research and development like China in such areas, so that we will have the strategic advantage. That is necessary and important for any country, right? So however, recently it is also evident from the fact that in Red Sea, we knew that the proxy groups or the militant groups or non-state actors have been attacking ships of different countries. So they are not just attacking ships. For example, groups like Hezbollah and Houthis, so they are actually attacking the ships. So they are not just attacking the ships, they are also attacking the undersea cables. And they are threatening to cut down these undersea cables, because that could threaten global trade, that could threaten global internet connectivity or internet access, and that could also potentially impact the secure communication of the governments, and along with that it also severely impact the global transactions, right? So ultimately it will result in a severe setback to the financial sector of the world, right? So because of this reason we need to understand the threats, right? Because see, what happened was in 2024 the subsea cable cuts in Bab el Mandab Strait due to strikes by Houthi rebels caused temporary issues. So here, who are these Houthis? Houthis are a militant group. Which is based in Yemen. And Houthis are also known as the proxy group of Iran. So they are also known as proxies of Iran. So they even threatened to cut down the cables which are in Bab el Mandab Strait. Therefore, these risks that we already have from both state actors and non-state actors did not destabilize India's internet due to the excess capacity in other networks, but a larger disruption could have a severe impact, right? For example, from any state actor like China or any other non-state actor such as these militant groups, so if they actually cut down the cable networks, undersea cable networks that actually transmit internet data to India or from India, that would severely impact India's economy as a whole. And that's why we should understand the potential risks that are involved. We should understand the potential risks that are actually involved here. And in fact, the large scale damage to multiple cables in any region, for example, undersea cables are passing through a particular region, and in case any state actor or non-state actor, if they have caused a large scale damage to multiple cables in one particular region, so that could actually cause a huge internet outages. So it will actually cause a huge internet outages with a limited ability to reroute data. So it will also be very, very difficult to recover from that huge internet outages. However, these subsea cable networks, when we talk about the subsea cable networks which are laid undersea from different countries, they are connecting different countries. So most of these subsea cable networks actually follow the shipping routes, right? So they follow what? They follow the shipping routes. They are actually aligned with the shipping routes. So because it will become much more easier to track and also lay down these cables when we lay down these cables across the shipping routes. And this alignment actually makes India's internet infrastructure much more susceptible to risks from disruptions in these maritime trade corridors. So these are some important risks that are associated with the subsea cable networks. So I hope you have understood the risks which are actually involved with these subsea cable infrastructure. However, certain measures can be taken, right? So certain measures can be taken to protect, to secure India's subsea cable infrastructure. So what are those measures that can be taken? So first of all, it is very, very important that companies very often face delays due to excessive permissions that are required to lay these subsea cable networks, right? So for example, imagine that there is a company A. So this company has expertise laying down undersea cables. However, with respect to India, these companies have to take a number of permissions. They have to take multiple number of permissions. For example, it is being said that around 51 approvals are required. 51 approvals are required from various departments like Department of Telecom, Department of Home Ministry, Environment Ministry, local municipalities. So since they require multiple approvals from different organizations, so it will be very, very difficult to lay down these undersea cables, with ease. So it is not easy to lay down these undersea cables. So remember that in future, India needs to substantially increase its existing capacity, its existing infrastructure with respect to these undersea cables, so that India can actually meet the future demand of internet access, internet connectivity, reducing digital divide, and meeting the demands of India's economic growth. So for that, it is very, very important that we need to streamline these regulatory procedures. Since we have so many approvals required to lay down these deep sea cable networks, it is very, very important that we need to simplify and streamline the regulatory procedures, and that would actually reduce delays and improve ease of laying the subsea cables, and that would potentially benefit India also in the future, meeting the overall demand. And apart from that, so once we lay down these subsea or undersea cables. So it is very important to protect these subsea or undersea cables, because they are facing multiple threats, they are facing multiple vulnerabilities from both state actors, non-state actors, and even maritime shipping and even fishing trawlers. They are frequently damaging these cables, so thereby ultimately disrupting the services. So they are ultimately disrupting services, and that should be kept in mind. So ultimately securing these undersea cables is a one very important task, and for that we should have a proper mechanism in place. We should have a proper mechanism in place, and we should also ready to invest in research and development, and that would result in more innovation, more technological development, and that will also have important spin-off applications with respect to securing the subsea cables. And better security measures and monitoring systems, they need to be implemented, right? So if we have such subsea cables or undersea cables, so we need to regularly provide security from both state actors as well as non-state actors. From both state actors and non-state actors, we need to regularly provide security to these subsea and undersea cables, and we should actually have a monitoring mechanism, and this monitoring mechanism should be put in place to protect the critical infrastructure from the physical damages caused by various entities or various aspects. However, as of now, India heavily dependent on foreign repair vessels for fixing these damaged subsea cables. So there are a lot of damaged subsea cables. However, India has been excessively dependent on other countries' vessels for fixing these damaged subsea cables. So thereby it again involves a long approval process, and it is also much more expensive as well. So therefore it is very important that we should achieve self-reliance when it comes to laying down these cables, fixing the damaged cables as well. So we should actually fix the damaged cables on our own. And there is a need for increased domestic investment in subsea cable repair vessels and cable storage depots to expedite the repair work and also reduce the dependency on the foreign resources. So these are some measures that India can actually follow. So remember that since it is in use in recent times, so there is a high probability of this question about the undersea cables and its vulnerability, its importance, and the challenges and the measures that are required to protect and secure the undersea cables might be asked in your examination. So therefore it is very important to understand about the subsea or undersea cable infrastructure and its importance for India as well. So I hope you have understood this article, and the next article is India, Thailand and both countries are decided to elevate their bilateral relationship to the strategic partnership. So we all knew that the 6th BIMSTEC summit is going to be held in Thailand, and our Prime Minister Narendra Modi also attended the 6th BIMSTEC summit, and that is going to happen in Thailand. Right. So before understanding India-Thailand relations in a very detailed manner, so first of all we'll try to understand about the BIMSTEC grouping. So BIMSTEC stands for Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. It is a 7-member body. It is a 7-member body, and it was established in the year 1997, right? So you just have to remember that BIMSTEC has been established in the 1997, and it is a 7-member body. And when we talk about the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral and Technical and Economic Cooperation Organization, some experts view BIMSTEC as an alternative. They view BIMSTEC as an alternative to SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. However, some experts also view BIMSTEC as complementing or complementary to the SAARC grouping, right? So in fact, in SAARC grouping, Pakistan is a member. So Pakistan very often create roadblocks for any initiative that has been launched as part of the SAARC grouping, and because of that particular reason, the cooperation between the SAARC member countries, the inter-country cooperation between the SAARC member countries is not going forward. For example, I will tell you some examples. So there is a SAARC connectivity initiative that Pakistan is not ready to be part of. There is also a SAARC satellite that India has been launched that Pakistan never wanted to be part of. So thereby Pakistan always try to create roadblocks in the South Asian cooperation, for the meaningful South Asian cooperation. So therefore the need has been felt, and in fact initially SAARC was established with the spirit of working like Asian grouping, to achieve a meaningful level of economic cooperation, political cooperation, security cooperation, political cooperation, and cultural cooperation. However, ASEAN is a successful organization, successful regional grouping, but on the other hand, SAARC is a failed regional grouping, right? So SAARC is considered as a failed regional grouping because a meaningful cooperation has not been achieved through the SAARC grouping, and that's why the need has been felt for an alternative grouping, and that's where in 1997 BIMSTEC as a grouping was established. And if you can remember, India has a number of initiatives. For example, we have the neighborhood first policy that we prioritize our neighboring countries more than any other country. And apart from that, we also have policies like Act East policy. It was earlier known as Look West policy. And a Sagar policy, security and growth for all in the region. So there are several such policies that India has been launched. However, all these different initiatives, all these different policies are aligned with India's BIMSTEC objectives, right? So India's BIMSTEC objectives. So these policy objectives can be achieved through groupings like BIMSTEC. So what are the member countries of the BIMSTEC grouping? So it is a 7-member country grouping. So this is again a regional grouping. Now understand, so India, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Thailand, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. So these are the 7-member countries of the BIMSTEC grouping. And in fact, the BIMSTEC was established or founded in the year 1997 through a declaration called Bangkok Declaration. Now, what is the importance of the BIMSTEC grouping? So you can also see the importance of BIMSTEC grouping because it contributes 22% of the world's population, and the combined GDP of the BIMSTEC countries is 2.7 trillion, and 1/4 of the world's traded goods across Bay of Bengal every year, and 6 focus areas including trade, technology, energy, transportation, tourism and fisheries. So these are the key areas of focus among the BIMSTEC member countries. Now I hope you have understood what exactly is BIMSTEC, and this year 6th BIMSTEC meeting is going to be taking place in Thailand, and in order to attend the 6th BIMSTEC meeting, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Thailand, right? So since Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Thailand, so Government of India has been planning to further elevate ties between these two countries, Thailand and India, to a strategic cooperation, right? So we'll understand about that as well. So you can see this India and Thailand, right? So we can access Thailand either through the Bay of Bengal or through the land route also, right? So now if we talk about India and Thailand relations, so India and Thailand actually share the civilizational ties. So these civilizational ties between these two countries, both India and Thailand, are rooted in history. So they are rooted in history, culture and religion as well, right? For example, the colonial past, that the countries have colonial past and common culture and religion, including Buddhism, Hinduism, and the diaspora population who are living in Thailand. So these are, the common historical, cultural and religious factors which are binding both India and Thailand together, because it is said that around 250,000 Indian diaspora have been living in Thailand. So they also engaged in different activities such as trade, hospitality. They are engaged in trade, hospitality, and they are also part of the jewelry trade as well. So they are doing all these different activities, and they are even playing a very, very important role in strengthening the relations between both Thailand and India. And as I have already talked to you, that culture and religion, Buddhism is a key and a very, very important pillar. We knew that Buddhism originated in India, right? So Buddha got enlightened at Bodh Gaya in present day Bihar. So Buddhism is originated in India, and it is considered as a key spiritual bond, right? So this is considered as a key spiritual bond that has been connecting two different countries, right? So Buddhism is a key spiritual bond that has been connecting both Thailand and India, and there are ancient linkages as well. So what sort of an ancient linkages that we actually have between both these countries? For example, ancient maritime trade routes, and ancient times cultural exchanges that we have, because in Thailand, Ramayana has been adopted in Thai folklore as Ramkain, and they have ensured a long-standing mutual cultural appreciation between both Thailand and India as well. So in fact, text epics like Ramayana are revered in Thailand. And Indian influence is also clearly visible in Thai architecture, language, and Sanskrit Pali roots between these two countries. The traditional medicine that we found in Thailand and India is almost similar, and even the performing arts as well. However, the exceptional relations between India and Thailand is being evident from the fact that recently Thailand has reaffirmed the close cultural ties between India and Thailand through issuance of a commemorative postage stamp, and this commemorative postage stamp is based on Ramayana mural paintings during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 2025 visit. So that's how we have a civilizational ties. We have close cultural, historical and religious ties, and they are actually forms the foundation of a good India as well as Thailand relations. Now we'll try to understand political and economic relations, between India and Thailand. So what sort of a political and economic relations that we actually have with Thailand? So India and Thailand share warm, friendly political relations. So they have a very good political relations, because the political relations between both India and Thailand, they stemmed from the close civilizational ties, the close historical ties, the close religious and the cultural ties that both these countries have been sharing, and that's why we are also having close political ties with each other. And in fact, we all knew that India has launched Look East policy under former Prime Minister Narasimha Rao in 1990s. However, in 2014, NDA government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi changed Look East policy into the Act East policy. Changed Look East policy into the Act East policy, keeping in mind the changing dynamics, of both India and Southeast Asia relations. And Act East policy is a more proactive engagement. It is a more proactive engagement with the Southeast Asian nations, covering areas like connectivity, trade, technology, education, commerce. So all these different areas, right? So this is a proactive engagement with the Southeast Asian nations, including Thailand. And apart from that, both India and Thailand are members of different groupings. For example, BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, both are members. And Thailand is a member of ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Even though India is not a member of Asian grouping, India has a very close relations with the Asian grouping. So therefore, India, Thailand are also cooperating as part of India-ASEAN larger cooperation. And even both these countries are also members of East Asia Summit. Both these countries are members of East Asia Summit. So at the bilateral level, both India and Thailand have been working with the BIMSTEC grouping, with East Asia Summit grouping, and even the India-ASEAN grouping as well. And apart from that, what is the economic cooperation between India and Thailand? So if we look at the economic cooperation between India and Thailand, so they are considered as most important trading partners. Both India and Thailand are most important trading partners in South Asia, because if we carefully look into the data of trade between both India and Thailand in financial year 23-24, during financial year 23-24, Thailand was the 21st largest country. Thailand was the 21st largest trading partner for India. Thailand is 21st largest trading partner for India. So in terms of economy, 23-24 financial year, right? So the total bilateral trade between India and Thailand amounting to 14.94 billion US dollars. So the 14.94 billion US dollars is still not up to the potential of both these countries, because if you look at the trade of Thailand with China, it is much more higher than what it is with India. So therefore, there is a lot of potential and there is a lot of scope to substantially improve India's relations with Thailand, particularly in the areas of trade. So therefore, both these countries must identify the areas where they can further improve the trade and commerce. Thereby, the bilateral relations can also be further elevated. And apart from that, both Thailand and India are part of regional trade ambitions through Asian grouping as well as the BIMSTEC organization. And apart from that, the connectivity is a major link. So connectivity is another area both India and Myanmar have been working on. So you might have heard about India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway. So India has been planning to link both Myanmar and Thailand with India's northeast, so thereby creating a sustainable connectivity network between India and Southeast Asian countries, right? So this is India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway. So if it is successful, India, particularly the northeastern part of India, would be well linked with the Southeast Asia, and that will also give fillip to trade, commerce, and also the rapid movement of people, even people to people ties as well. Now in this context, If we specifically talk about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Thailand to attend the 6th BIMSTEC meeting, so this is actually a 2-day visit to Thailand in April 2025. So in fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in this particular trade has announced that the bilateral ties between India and Thailand can be elevated to the strategic partnership. Right, the bilateral ties between both these countries would be elevated to what? It would be elevated to the strategic partnership following delegation level talks. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi and also Thailand PM P Shinawatra, right? So she is Thailand Prime Minister, right? So there will be a delegation level talks, and after that the relations between both India and Thailand would be further elevated to the strategic partnership. And in fact, so when we talk about India and Thailand bilateral relations, so India and Thailand bilateral relations actually takes into account the trade between these two countries, security cooperation, trade, security cooperation, and the regional cooperation, technology cooperation, cooperation in the areas of culture, cooperation in the areas of commerce, education, healthcare. So all these are the important areas of cooperation between both India and Thailand. So most importantly, we need to talk about the maritime security. So maritime security is a very, very important area of cooperation between both India and Thailand, particularly at a point of time. Countries in the Asian group are increasingly threatened through the expansionism and illegal claims of China in the South China Sea. Along with that, India is also facing similar concerns at the line of actual control, as well as the Indian Ocean region, right? So the common concerns with respect to expansionism has actually brought in these different countries together, and most importantly India and Thailand. So both India and Thailand are committed to the Asian centrality as well as Asian unity. So Asian centrality and Asian unity emphasizes on principles such as free, open, inclusive, rules-based Indo-Pacific. Free, open, inclusive and rules-based Indo-Pacific, freedom of navigation and overflight. So both India and other Asian countries including Thailand, so they actually reaffirm their Asian centrality and Asian unity as well. And in fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emphasized on India's developmental approach, that is Vikasvad, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi sternly opposed expansionism, which is also called as Vistarvad, and it is being viewed as sending clear message in line with India's evolving geopolitical stance in India. So Vistarvad is expansion or expansionism, and in South Asia or East Asia, countries like China have been adopting the policies of Vistarvad. So that's why Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been reaffirming or giving a clear message to such countries, and he also emphasizing on terms like Vikasvad. So Vikasvad is the development, the inclusive development of all countries in the region. And in fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also reaffirmed or reiterated India's commitment to the BIMSTEC grouping, because within the BIMSTEC grouping, India is known as the most dominant country in terms of its military, security, technology, that GDP, and even the economic. So India is known as the economic powerhouse. So therefore, Prime Minister Narendra Modi affirmed India's commitment to the BIMSTEC grouping. And in fact, ahead of the 6th BIMSTEC summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi stressed on the BIMSTEC grouping in promoting regional connectivity. Particularly we emphasizes on India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway. Early completion of India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway. And similarly, a key agenda item included signing agreement on maritime cooperation, and this is a strategic and a very important component given India's Thailand maritime interests, right? So given India's Thailand maritime interests, both these countries are going to sign an agreement on maritime cooperation, and they are going to elevate their relations to a strategic partnership level relationship. I hope you have understood the India and Thailand relations in a comprehensive manner. So next important topic is compassionate primary healthcare. So we'll understand a compassionate primary healthcare because this is an article that has been given in the Hindu newspaper. So when we talk about the compassionate healthcare, so this is actually part of your general studies paper 2 syllabus. Right, to some extent it may be asked in general studies paper 1 as well in the society part. So therefore it is very important for your mains examination in general studies paper 2 and general studies paper 1 as well. So firstly, we'll try to understand what is compassionate capitalism, right? So World Health Organization has also defined compassionate healthcare, but before that we'll try to understand what exactly is a compassionate capitalism. So compassionate healthcare actually involves empathy, active listening, and also the responsive action which has been tailored to the context and the existing emotion. So this is in a very simple terms compassionate healthcare, and even World Health Organization has also defined compassionate healthcare. So according to World Health Organization, so compassionate healthcare means awareness, empathy, action in the patient care, right? So this is what is called as the compassionate healthcare as per the World Health Organization's definition. And in fact, the compassion in healthcare emphasizes on human-centric healthcare, right? So this is a human-centric healthcare because the compassion in healthcare emphasizes on dignity. It also emphasizes on emotional support, inclusivity in healthcare delivery. For example, Amrit clinics in Rajasthan particularly focus on tribal patient dignity. So when we talk about the compassion in healthcare, so compassion in healthcare essentially focuses on or prioritizes areas like human dignity or dignity of human being. They also focus on the emotional support to the patients. So patients need to be provided emotional support, and it also focuses on inclusivity as well, inclusivity in healthcare delivery. So therefore these are the essential components of compassionate primary healthcare. And even with compassionate primary healthcare, there will be a continuous engagement, and that will involve building trust through sustained interaction and even the regular community engagement as well. So the best example would be the patients who are infected with the tuberculosis, because they require regular community engagement. They also require regular diagnosis. They also required the regular support from the healthcare professionals as well, and personalized support and care which is adopted to socio-economic relations or realities, especially in the crisis situations when it comes to the healthcare provision. So therefore the compassionate primary healthcare would also focuses on personalized support and care, so that is adopted to the existing socio-economic realities, especially in crisis times. Now what is the importance of the compassion in healthcare? So we'll try to understand the importance of compassion in healthcare. Now compassion in healthcare actually boosts patients' trust, right? So it is very important that the healthcare professionals need to gain the trust of the patients. So this compassionate healthcare, this is a patient-centric, a human-centric healthcare, so that actually boosts patients' trust. Thereby, it encourages early treatment seeking and better adherence to the medical advice as well. And in fact, the compassion in the healthcare would be considered as much more responsive because it improves the primary healthcare response in disaster and epidemic situations. For example, in the state of Tamil Nadu, post tsunami 2004, response was coordinated and it is a compassionate response as well. And similarly, there are a lot of vulnerable groups, and those vulnerable groups need to be provided with adequate health care, and it will also support vulnerable groups and empowers ASHA workers to identify and support violence survivors and even elderly as well. And similarly, it also significantly enhances health outcomes as it focuses on people-centered care, and it reduces mortality, relapses, and even the mental trauma as well. And apart from that, so it again focuses on strengthening the existing healthcare infrastructure as well. So as of now, we have a poor healthcare infrastructure, and it is very, very important to strengthen the existing healthcare infrastructure and providing the medical facilities with the best equipment that is required, and also bridging the gap of the required medical healthcare professionals, because Amrit clinics as of now, they have saw a rise of 40,000 to 51,930 patients 3 years. So thereby it has been indicating that there has been increasing patient footfall because the existing compassionate healthcare has actually gained the trust of the patients, and that's why has been an increasing footfall of number of patients. And on this image you can clearly see, and you can also write whenever any such question is asked about the healthcare, all these important schemes that the government of India has launched for healthcare or to revamp healthcare in India, including the Jan Aushadhi Yojana. So Jan Aushadhi Yojana focuses on providing the affordable and quality medicines to the people who are from the marginalized sections. National Health Mission, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, Pradhan Mantri National Dialysis Program, Mission Indradhanush, Ayushman Bharat, National Medical Commission, and Janani Suraksha Karyakram. So these are all some important schemes, initiatives that government of India has launched in the healthcare sector. So however, as of now, Indian healthcare system has been facing a lot of problems, particularly ensuring the compassionate healthcare. There are a number of problems. One is unequal access to healthcare. So unequal access to healthcare in the sense that rural areas are deprived of hospitals, best medical facilities, deprived of healthcare professionals as well compared to the urban areas. And there is also a huge gap between the infrastructure that is that is there between the private healthcare facilities and also the public healthcare facilities. So unequal access to healthcare is one key challenge. Affordability is also another major challenge, because as of now the out-of-pocket healthcare expenditure is around 43% of the total expenses as per National Family Health Survey 5. So therefore there is an issue of lack of affordability of healthcare, and in fact the healthcare costs are also substantially increasing, and healthcare spending or expenditure is also increasing a lot, and there is rolling back of the public sector in the healthcare, and there is increased presence of the private sector. So because of that reason there is increased healthcare expenditure and also the lack of affordability of healthcare as well, and even there are shortages of healthcare professionals, right? So there is a shortage of healthcare professionals in India. So the doctors, nurses who are actually required to attend the patients, so there is a huge shortage. So there is also a need to build such a shortage, and there is also lack of health insurance cover as well. So people in India need to be covered with the healthcare insurance coverage as well. So for that, so there is an approach called health approach. So they include human rights based approach, equity in healthcare access, advocacy of policy reforms, whatever policies we have, and legal framework for the human health rights, and targeted interventions for the marginalized populations, and health system strengthening and investment. So these measures have to be undertaken to brought in the compassionate healthcare at the primary level, and that is very very important to achieve universal healthcare, quality and affordable healthcare as well, right? So that's all in this lecture, and thank you so much. So if you like our lecture, please subscribe our YouTube channel and also hit the like button. Thank you.